good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever and whenever you're listening to me. Thank you for being here. My name is Malena Ramirez, and this is your podcast, The Lesbicast. And today is not only my first podcast in English, my first episode in English. It's the first time that I have a guest. And this is a very, very special guest. And of course, this is my first guest. It's one of my first friends in United States, but she's not from United States. This is my great friend for like 20 years, almost 20
Almost.
years, almost no 20, 16 years, I think, 16 to 17 years. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's been a long time. My friend Melissa Matos, thank you for being here. I really appreciated you taking time to meet with me because we received a letter and we want to talk about it because it's like, oh yeah, that's us. So we're gonna
Mhm.
talk about it. Melissa, would you tell us something about you, about us? Well, I can say I forgot to say our friendship has been like has gone through a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Not only physical changes because of distance. We don't live close now, but also we have changed, and we have the luck that we have stayed connected no matter
Mhm.
how and no matter the
What the
distance and no matter
distance.
the changes, we have grown and it's very resilient, our relationship. So I thank you for that. That doesn't happen often.
Hi, everyone. Malena, thank you for having me today. Like Malena said, my name is Melissa Matos. I'm Dominican. I met Malena when I moved to the US, but like Malena said, our friendship has surpassed that, the distance, the years. We are two independent grown women navigating our lives out of our countries. And no matter what had happened during all this time, our relationship and our friendship has survived. That's the meaning of true friendship. And I'm really lucky and blessed of having Malena in my life and really excited and really happy of being part of not only being your first guest, also part of your first English version of the podcast. So before we start, I want to warn people that this is probably come up in bilingual. Some
Yes.
of our Spanish favorite words that might be, maybe they will
Yeah.
come up. But this is a conversation
Yeah.
between friends. So let's do this.
And it's like it's appropriate for the topic because
Hmm.
it's about the navigating the differences and the conflicts that arises when we have partners that are not from our same country, same culture, or don't share our own the same language.
Language.
So personal. And I want to read. I usually read the letter after, but this letter, I feel our conversation is going to answer that. So I want to read it. We have a letter from a dear listener, Marcela from Mexico, and she wrote me, and I said, Melissa, we need to talk. You need to join me and talk about this because we need to help Marcela and 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 talk about our relationships. So this is the letter. Dear Melena, hello. I am, of course, this is a translated. She wrote it in Spanish. Dear Melena, hello. I'm a huge fan of your podcast, and I love how you address such important and relevant topics for the lesbian community. I'm writing to you because I'm going through a situation that's left me quite confused, and I'm not sure how to handle it. I'm in a relationship with an incredible woman, but there's something that we are really struggling with: our cultural and language differences. She's from England and her first language is English, while I am from Mexico and I speak Spanish. At first, everything seemed easy because we both speak English well, but now that our relationship has deepened, I feel that cultural and linguistic barriers are starting to create distance between us. Sometimes when we argue, I realize that we have very different ways of communicating. I like to be direct, clear, and resolve things quickly, but she tends to be more indirect and sometimes doesn't know how to express that what she feels clearly. On some occasions, it's difficult for me to understand her intentions, and that creates misunderstandings that make us feel more distant. Also, there are family and cultural situations I don't know how to handle. In her culture, family plays a very big role, and sometimes I feel that our differences in how we view family relationships are affecting us. I have my own way of relating to my family, but she has different expectations. based on her own cultural views. At times, I feel like I don't fully understand what she needs or expects from me in those moments, and I don't know how to find a balance without feeling like I'm losing my own identity. I would like to know, how can I navigate these differences without them becoming a barrier? Is there a way we can better understand each other despite the language and cultural differences? I'm afraid that if we don't learn to manage this, our relationship could be negatively affected. And I don't want that to happen because she really matters to me. Thank you for your advice and for taking the time to read my letter. With love, Marcela, a confused but hopeful listener. We got you, Marcela. Melissa and I, we have something in common, is that we are in a relationship, in a serious, committed relationship with women that are not our from the same culture, and we don't share the same language. So we're gonna talk about that. It's
Yeah.
very funny at times and very frustrating at times, but with patience and
Definitely.
love, I feel like we have overcome it. But let's talk about some of those, let's say, cultural differences. Melissa, what have you encountered in your relationship first? And I'll
Yeah,
piggyback from you.
yeah, like Marcela mentioned in her letter, definitely the language barrier is something that affect us all, especially when we are in a relationship with people that they don't speak the same language.
Mm,
We are fortunate, and I know that that's your case as well, that we can express ourselves clearly in English so
mhm.
our partners can understand us, but not all the time we can put English words in what we are feeling and thinking, especially when we're fighting. Like we get all like worked up
Heated.
and
Yeah.
heated and upset, but then we find ourselves wanting to say things that only can come up in Spanish. And
Yeah.
either you start talking in Spanish to your partner and she won't understand anything that you're saying, which sometimes is really funny because she can say like, I don't know what you're talking about. Or finding yourself getting frustrated because you want to say things and express your feelings, but you can't
Get
find the
them.
right words. You want to have like a casual, relaxed conversation, but the English that we learn is academic English, like
Academic and
professional English. So you are like, sometimes I'm like, what the hell are you talking? Like, why are you talking like that? Because I don't know a simple way on how to say some things, but I know how to do it in English with the Spanish, I'm sorry, in the way that I talk to my friends, in the way that I talk to my family. Like, you're my
yeah.
person,
Yes.
and I feel so formal
Oh,
sometimes
interesting.
talking to
Interesting.
her because I'm like, I don't know how to be like relaxed or use like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
say like bad language. It's just like not to use. I want to be more casual, more
Yeah.
spontaneous, but it's
And
hard.
effective too, like to get
Yeah.
your point across. You want to use the right words, and sometimes there's no right words in that moment, and I just have to say it in Spanish.
Or with humor. Like I know
Or
a
with
lot of jokes in Spanish, and I don't know if I
that's it.
know how to be funny in
I
English.
know they don't translate. They don't. They just
No, and
can't
you're
translate.
like, I'm laughing inside of a joke that I heard or a situation that happened. But when I translate, it's boring. It's
Mhm.
boring. It's not funny. And I'm like, you won't understand what I want to say. And she's very supportive. But I'm like, I'm really funny. I'm like, I consider myself a funny person in Spanish,
In Spanish.
but no, there is no way that I can find that funny side in
It's
English
very
at all.
that part is very difficult, and sometimes it frustrates me. In terms of not talking about arguments and conflict, but in our everyday life.
Yeah,
In my case, in order to feel a balance and to feel that also we're using also my language, I taught her the most important words that she should know in terms of romantic, like te amo, which means I love you, if you don't know. Mi corazón, which is you're my heart, things like that. So she can learn, and she can use and text me back, or tell me.
yeah.
That's it, finding that common ground, and also.
Exactly. There are some endearment words that
Mhm.
we use in Spanish that for an English speaking person, they just mean a word, but for us has a meaning. How a simple
Yeah.
word in Spanish has so much meaning behind it and
And
why
yeah,
we use it.
and also I think, I don't know if it was like we were watching something and they call it gordo or gorda, like to their partner, or flaca, flaco. And I was trying to explain to her that it doesn't mean how you look. It's just a term of endearment. Like it doesn't matter if
Yes.
you're skinny or fat. They call you
Yeah,
gorda,
I explained that
gordita.
to my partner because my cousins, my older cousins, they call me gorda since I'm very little. And it doesn't bother me because
Same with my mom. Yeah.
they're not they're not fight shaming me. I don't feel that way. It's just a word of endearment. My parents, um, my dad calls my mom mi negra,
Yeah. Yeah.
mi negra, and my mom is not even dark. And trying to explain that to an English speaking person, especially these days, it was really hard. And I'm like, listen,
Yeah.
you're my
These days with
cousins,
it. Yeah.
and you hear them calling me gorda, don't be offended for me.
Yeah.
Like, just, it doesn't
But
matter.
just my cousins. Not nobody else
That,
can call.
yes. And I'm
It's
like, just
different.
my female older cousins are allowed to call me that way. Nobody else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't mind because on the way that they say it, it doesn't feel that they're shaming me. It's just like
It's
a
not
word of
harmful.
endearment.
Right.
Explaining those things is very interesting, and then finding your partner using them.
I know. It's so funny. It's so funny. I love it melts my heart when she does it, when she uses the words that, for example, the other day, I always call my dog, I said, que lindo. When I put a little sweater on him, I said, que lindo, which means how cute you are, how handsome, right? And
Uh-huh.
she hears that I said, que lindo, que lindo. She's like, what does that mean? I'm like, it's beautiful. So the other day she texted me something and she said, cal lindo, junto, like together, cal lindo, con C, cal lindo. And I'm like, what are you saying? You mean like que lindo? Like it means que lindo, what? How beautiful.
Yes.
And she put it together. It was so funny. So she learned the word linda, lindo. And that's what I say, like, take it with humor, learn from each other and teach each other languages and slang too. So
Be open. Be
have a
open to
yeah,
learn.
yeah. I forgot what I wanted to say, but it was something about slang. Oh, that I learned a lot of slang also that Jenny throws at me and I'm like, what does that mean? What does that you have never heard that phrase? I'm like, no. Oh, it means
Oh
this.
yeah,
So
it
I learn a
happens
lot
all the
too.
time. That she tells me, and I'm like, come again. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
she needs to like break it down for me, this slang. And sometimes I don't know how to explain it. And I'm like, oh, you have to try. You have to try it because I'm trying to understand what you want to say. And maybe that's something that I want to use as well in my regular vocabulary, but I'm not going to use it
Yeah.
without knowing what it
Yeah.
means.
In my case, I don't take it. I don't take offense, but sometimes she smiles and she's like, "You're so cute," and it's usually because I said something stupid in English or I said mispronounced something, and she's like, "You're so cute," and I'm like, "What did I say? Please tell me." No, no, no. I don't want to make you feel like you're saying something wrong. I'm like, "No, please tell me what I say because I'm a
Yeah,
teacher, I'm a professor, and I don't want to be like saying something stupid
making fool of
my
yourself.
people, like tell me now. I don't take offense when she corrects me or she teaches me, a pronunciation,
We do the
something.
same thing here. I told her from the beginning, and I tell also my coworkers and everybody that I know that listen, if I pronounce something wrong, teach me. I don't take offense of it. I'm
Yeah.
always learning. I'm
Yeah,
always
of
learning,
course.
and I have committed myself that if someone corrects me on something that I've been saying wrong, I try to repeat it many times in my head until it clicks.
Just seeing it instead of something negative, something beautiful. You're both enriching each other's cultures and enriching each other from their different cultures and from their different languages and learning from each
Yeah.
other and growing with that layer because adding that, I mean, in a normal relationship, where when I say normal is people are the same, use the same language or come from the same culture, same religion. Let's say that. Still, there are different differences because you grew up in different backgrounds. Imagine
Hmm.
having the layer of also coming from a different culture, coming from a different country, coming from with different languages. It's a layer, and so I think we have
Age
to feel
difference.
proud and age differences too. My partner is 14 years older than me,
I'm 8 year
so it
older, eight
adds
years older than my partner. So there is
it adds
sometimes like we're talking about
the
uh
generational differences too.
yeah, I'm talking about things that I live in college and she's what I was in middle school.
I know.
I was like, oh my God, you have the same situation by the
You're
opposite.
a cougar, Melissa. You're a cougar.
I am, but
Cougar.
but those are the things that makes you grow, makes you more
Yeah.
aware of your differences, but finding the beauty on mixing those
Growing.
differences and creating something special.
Let's talk about the more about the cultural, maybe like how we grew up so different in terms of, for example, I grew up in Puerto Rico, and when I wasn't poor. I was like, yeah, humble situation there, but um middle class, I would say. But we suffered a lot of, we had hurricanes, and I remember when I was, I don't remember, middle school, we were 1 month without electricity and without water. So we have to be very creative about how how to work around.
Mhm.
Food was food was something that you didn't take for granted. Water, electricity, so those things. Versus I grew up like that versus my partner grew up, I would say, in a very privileged background,
Mhm.
household, which that was not a thing. Food was always available, electricity was always available, water was. She doesn't know what it is to feel like that. And so, for example, my relationship with food is very different from her. Well, I am very like, I don't like to waste food. I don't like to nothing
Mhm.
to be wasted. So when she leaves food, I'm like, are you taking that home? Are you eating it? And I'm like always like the police, like, are you gonna eat your food? Because if she's not gonna eat it, I might eat it because I don't want it to be wasted in the fridge. And that's a problem that I have. And I know it's not healthy because I think like 15 or 20 pounds at the beginning of the relationship because I was eating my food and the leftovers for her because I was like, nothing can be wasted. But I explained it to her. She's like, why are you so obsessed with this and with that? And I explained, look, I came from this. This happened in my childhood. It's very different from you. I don't want anything to be wasted. I hate to waste food because I've seen poverty, and
Mhm.
how you said in the other episode, not only in my house but around me, right? I know what it is to live precarious.
Yeah, you left the word.
Yeah,
But
precarious.
yeah, it's basically the same situation here at home. It happens. For example, my partner, she doesn't like to eat frozen food, like frozen meat, let's say it
Mm,
that way. Like it has to be like fresh, bought from the supermarket the same day. But sometimes that's not financially smart. It's not only with food, it's like appreciating like the little things. In like your case, I'm from
yeah,
Dominican Republic. There is a lot of poverty in my country, in my community, with my neighbors, even with family members that they didn't have the financial stability
yeah,
that my parents had. Even if we didn't struggle, we grew up with people that did struggle. And
yeah,
certain
yeah.
situations that we had to live when we were little and when we were younger make us appreciate things a little bit more. And I don't want to say that they don't appreciate it,
Hmm, hmm.
but it's just like for us, we know how hard it is to have access to certain things. We grew up in countries that we had shortage of things
Yeah,
for many reasons.
that
Uh,
Americans, I would say, United States, yeah, Americans
in the
would
United States,
take for
because it's a
granted.
more developed country,
Yeah,
they always had access to those things.
yeah.
So those are things that they many people don't understand why we are so inclined to protect these
Yeah.
little things, and it's because we don't take anything for granted, because for X or Y
Mm.
reason we were either deprived, people that we know were deprived, or we had to work
Yeah,
really hard to be able to get them. So at the end, that's what we have to that should be our motto.
yeah.
Like, grow within your relationship and appreciate the what you're learning from your partner. In my
Oh.
case, my partners has two children. They live with me, so now I'm another parental figure for them. And she's like, I feel so blessed that the girls are going to have the opportunity to experience another culture,
Mm,
learn another language, live with someone and grow up with someone that can teach them so much of things
mm,
that
yeah,
they won't see here, and that they're going to be able to go to another country and learn firsthand different backgrounds, different situation, people from different different skin color than them. So she appreciates a lot that part of
nice.
us
Yeah,
being from different cultures. And at the end, I think that that should be like the main focus
yes.
of having a relationship with someone from a
Hmm.
different background and a different language than we are.
Instead of seeing it as an obstacle, see it as I don't know, as a
That's a
win,
blessing.
something I've left. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Melissa, we were talking about, and I think that was my favorite topic about the difference in festivities and how we miss our costumes, especially in the holidays.
Yeah.
That's a biggie. That's a biggie for me because
For
every
all
we
of
were
us, especially people, the weather, just the weather. Like
that too.
for us, holidays, especially for Christmas, it's always warm. We celebrate it outside. We wear like nice, cute
Oh,
dresses.
yeah. We dress
Here,
up
here it's always cold.
in
Um,
pajamas with pajamas, sweatshirts, which I don't mind because it's so cold. I'm like, yeah, of course, that's what I want to do. But I miss the dressing up. Let's go to the Christmas Eve party, which is a thing in Puerto Rico for me, not
mhm.
here. Here, I feel like her family is more about Christmas, the 25th, the 25th. Uh, for me, 25th is like, okay,
Is the night of is
it's
Christmas
the day.
Eve.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
the
for us,
Christmas Eve. That's
Christmas
a big
Eve is the
party.
big thing.
We stayed up all night. We play music, we dance. We're like, and I don't have that. Anyway, this is because we were talking about one of the points of one of the things that we were advising Marcela was to do not lose yourself. You do not let your
Mhm.
identity get loose in the relationship. You know, always find the balance. You want to tell?
Yeah, finding a balance is really important. And we were talking about, for example, this last Christmas, like since I started my relationship, the past two Christmas, I have spent it with my partner's family. And this year, for example, I wanted to, for Christmas Eve, they also celebrate Christmas Eve. I wanted to include some of like the dishes, traditional dishes that we have that are very similar to the one in Puerto Rico, pernil, arroz con gandules, something. Unfortunately, they said no because they already had like their menu,
No.
and they said you can make just like a salad. And I'm like, okay.
Salad in Dominican Republic. Can I include mango in the salad? Can
So
I
that's
put plátano in the salad?
so someone might think like, oh, that's just food, but it's the food that is part of my culture. So those are the things that I miss, and I was basically denied to do. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to have. I don't. I'm not going to deprive myself from this ever again. So I talked to friends, Latino friends that I have here, and I'm like, next year, let's plan and let's do like a friends Christmas dinner with all of our
Good
Latino
idea.
family or Latino friends.
Good idea.
And we're not going to take away spending Christmas Eve with our partner's family, but I'm going to do my pre-game before
Mhm.
Christmas Eve with my people. And we're going to put our music and
Nice.
decorate how we like to decorate. And we're going to dress up if we want to dress up. And we're going to cook the things that we typically do in our culture. And that way you can have the best of both worlds. You're not going
Yeah.
to miss Christmas
Yeah.
with your partner's family that is not your new family, but you're not going to lose yourself in someone else's culture.
Yeah.
Always keep your culture alive and do things and activities that is going to fill your heart and know that
Yeah.
you're keeping it alive.
For me, I am not very attached to the food of my country. I'm not. I don't miss it at all because I'm not. I'm vegan, so I cannot eat it. I don't eat pork or anything. But I am more in terms of the music and the activity part of it. It's very different. For
Yeah,
example, in here the gatherings are very quiet, very. There's no music. Everybody's like speaking in very
I
and
know.
I'm
We're
like,
like all
I want to
together,
dance. Can
eating
I have
together,
music? Can we?
dancing,
And,
drinking.
and my partner is like, but you want to dance? But everybody always dance. I was like, no, but yeah, we dance. We're like, I miss that, and I was trying to explain it, and something else is explaining. For example, at least for me in Puerto Rico, but because I lost my grandma and my dad, their favorite festivity, one of their favorite holidays was the Three Kings Day, which is
Hmm.
the Dia de los Reyes. And I was explaining Jenny because she didn't know anything about it. And I explained this is very important for me to celebrate that day and to give a gift or receive a gift that day. Because my dad used to do this, my grandma, this is a
Yeah.
huge day where in my childhood it was my favorite holiday. You receive a Three Kings Day, and usually the Three Kings Day celebration was the biggest one, and it was the also when you receive the best gifts. It's like Christmas, but it was the Three Kings instead of Santa Claus.
Yes, January 6th. For me, it
January
was like
6th
that. It was like that.
in Latin
Now,
America is huge, yeah. So
uh,
I was very open, and I mean, I think the first year was like I didn't communicate it well, so I had like expectations, and my expectations were not met. and that caused a little bit of emotional turbulence. And after that, she learned that that day is very important. And we did the ritual that I used to do with my father, get grass. We were in Mexico this year on vacation.
Also, you were able to find grass.
Yeah, we were in a hotel, and so I got grass and I put it in a little cup for the camels because the three kings come in camels because they come from the Middle East. So I went to sleep, and the next day the camels ate the grass, and she left some gifts because the three kings left me some gifts, and it was very very sweet. I was like, oh my god, I'm so lucky with this woman. It was very beautiful. It was very beautiful. And I appreciate it. But I think that comes from communication. You don't
They don't know about our
they don't
culture.
know.
They don't learn about it unless you tell them about it. That's not part of them growing up within, not even
Hmm.
reading about it because it's
Yep.
not taught in
Yeah.
here. It has to be like 50-50. It's our responsibility to share those things with them that are important for us and for them to be open to learn from us and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Melissa, how do you in your circles, Spanish circles, and how you navigate that? How you deal with that? How often?
So with this is the first time that I'm dating someone that doesn't speak Spanish. So I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And so because normally when I have like English speaking friends, it was always around English speaking friends. And when I'm with my
Yeah.
Latino friends, it was only Latino friends. So I didn't have like a lot of situations when it was like a mix in between. So what I did from the beginning, I spoke with my partner and I was like, how do you feel when these situations comes? Because it's going to happen. My best friends and my entire family speak Spanish, and when I'm around them, that's the language that I use. I use Spanish. This is my language. That's how I grew up, and we talk a lot about it. And she was very open, and she's like, "That's your language. I can't expect from you to limit yourself to only use English just because that's the language that I speak. If you're
Yeah.
with your people, if you're with your friends, I totally get it. And she knows, and she's like, I need to do an effort. I need to do an effort to learn your language because you have integrated yourself with my friends and my family uh, because you understand the language, so she feels that it's also her duty to try to do the same. But sometimes when we're in situations and I see that she's quiet, she's like, "Don't worry, I'm just like challenging myself, trying to understand and following you guys on what you're saying. So even though if you see me quiet, I'm paying attention,
Yeah.
I'm learning, I'm getting words, trying to understand what they mean." And it's like a game. It's like a game for her putting the puzzle together for her to follow the conversation. And if
Yeah.
there is a joke or a topic, I try to let her know what is happening or translate it. And also, my friends are very accommodating, and
Nice.
they
Yeah.
know that make a pause and either stop, like talk
For
slow
translation.
or translate or wait for me to translate for her
Yeah.
or speak in English here and there.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But because we live here, we use English all the time for work, for school, for whatever that we're doing. So when we are together, all that we do is like to vomit in Spanish
Yeah. 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 Me
because
too.
we've been retaining that for so long. And you're like, okay, okay, I just
Ah,
want to speak Spanish. I just want to listen Spanish music. I like
yeah. Yeah.
recharge. It's like
It's
a
very important.
recharge after like spending weeks and weeks only using another language that is not yours.
As you said, find a balance, right? Also, when you just want to speak English, yeah, Spanish, when you just want to speak your language, and make sure that you don't lose your identity, as we said before.
Hmm.
But maintaining that, like watching your Spanish movies, reading in Spanish, talking in Spanish with your family, with your friends, whenever you can.
With or without language barrier, that's the key, having a balance.
Having a balance, communicating.
They knew what they were getting into when they
Yeah,
decided to have a relationship with us.
yeah.
If they didn't
And we
know,
too, we too. We knew that that was gonna be a thing, like that you have to compromise sometimes with your
exactly.
language, your culture,
Hmm.
and find. And I think again, I think that happens with every couple. It doesn't have to be with different cultures,
It's
because
just that
people
we
grew
had
up
to
in
work a
different
little bit
backgrounds.
harder.
Yeah,
We had to work
yeah,
a little bit harder, not only with the struggles on having a relationship, also the struggle adding the struggle of coming from different cultures and speaking a different language. So it's another
and
layer.
and generational in our case,
Exactly. It's
generational.
another layer but it makes you appreciate more. It makes you
Yeah.
grow more.
And
And
deep and love deeper. Love deeper.
yes, yeah, sometimes I'm like, I had to deal with a lot. Like I had to deal with a lot. So you can tell how much I love you.
Oh, that's beautiful. So I would say, yeah, if we would summarize our advice for Marcela, which is, I'm pretty sure Marcela's situation is the same as many, many as you and me. So what would be the top three advice that we're giving her? We said you said it beautifully, like keep your identity, make sure that you keep your identity. That's I feel like that's a priority. You don't lose that.
No,
And
no.
yeah,
Keeping it,
community
keeping your entity is really important.
and
And
teaching and
and embracing
showing
that
embracing.
and bringing her to share with you the same way that you learning her culture, bring her over to learn yours so she can understand, like you say, how you behave,
Where
why
you're
you
coming from.
behave,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you're coming from, your family dynamic, and all of that. I remember that
Yeah.
Marcela also spoke about family dynamic. If she understands your culture, then she's going to understand what is that different,
Yeah.
a difference between family dynamics. So not losing yourself and embracing your culture and keeping it alive is really important. And communication in general, communicate
Yeah.
for relationships,
Always.
communication in general. And if you have struggle communicating, look for help. Someone that can give you tools because communication is essential. If you don't communicate with your partner, it's going to be full of misunderstandings. Things are going to be left without solving.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that by experience, I have learned that you accumulate all of that, and it's not a good ending. Definitely, it's never a good ending. So if you find yourself struggling on how to communicate, on how you, because both of them speak English, so they can communicate each other
Exactly.
in that language. But if you find that you don't, even in your own language, you don't know how to communicate, like I said, the way that you feel and in your thoughts, get help,
Therapy can help.
yeah, therapy can
Couples
totally.
therapy.
There are a bunch of books that can help you too, if therapy is not an option. That can help you to find the right words. I had that issue. I went to therapy and I learned. I learned how to navigate my feelings and how to express them in a way that my partner can understand what I was going through.
Beautiful. That's
So
great.
a lot of communication and balance.
Communication. Yeah. So I also would add, we have to celebrate both cultures, celebrate both, ways. It's not only your way, like it's also their way. So celebrate both and embrace them. And even seeing it, I see it as, at this point, I would see it as humor, with humor, our our differences. And every time it's like, yeah, for example, my family is calling. She talks to her family independently. When she talks to her sister, she talks to her sister, to mom, to dad. And then I receive a call with 20 people in the screen, and they're
And you're
all
talking
talking.
to all of them at the same time.
Like, you always talk with a lot of people at the same time. It's not like you talk to your brother or your mom separately. I'm like, well, sometimes, but it's usually like, let's all talk together. I would say keep it light and just make fun of each other in a good way.
And yeah, there are moments for everything. There are going to be situations when it has to be like a serious conversation
Yeah.
that you guys can have together to understand each other. Marcela, you need to sit with your partner, talk to her, explain yourself, let her know where you're coming from, why you do things in a certain way, where your
Yeah.
family come from, if you have struggle or no struggle, or give her the opportunity to understand you and
Mm-hmm.
understand your culture and understand your ways
Yeah.
so she can't find a way on how to navigate it.
Yeah.
And you do the same with her, and find a way to communicate. So that's the key. Embrace it, learn, find the humor on it, on the happy or the boring, the sweet or the salty. Find find the humor on all of it and embrace it
Yeah.
and make it yours as well. That's I think that
Yeah.
at the end, that's the way that a couple coming from different backgrounds
Yeah.
can succeed if they
And
embrace the differences with each
yeah,
other.
and pay. So sometimes, obviously, there's not gonna be a moment to laugh about. So sometimes it can be frustrating because conflicts arise. So I would say be patient and have some empathy. When you're flexible, you can solve uh, those problems. Take your time, take a break if you need to, because sometimes the brain translates it also. Sometimes it's like, oh,
Oh,
let's. overwhelmed. So take a break. Take a break. Okay, write it down. Probably sometimes it helps me journal. So I write it down, what my thoughts, what I want to say, and then I go back. Okay, this is what I meant. This is what I wanted to say. I couldn't find a word in the moment.
Yeah,
I have
sometimes
to
I
go
can't.
Google Translate,
Sometimes
Chat
I can't.
GPT.
I can because either I'm tired or I'm really frustrated and I'm like, I need a moment. Let me gather my thoughts because I don't want to be hurtful or I want to communicate in a way that you can understand where I'm coming from. So
Yeah,
sometimes don't leave it hanging. Don't say that we're going to solve it later, but allow yourself to take time to gather your thoughts because it's hard. It's hard to sometimes find a meaning or find a way to express in another language how you're feeling in that moment. So if you need a pause is good. A
yeah.
pause is good. Take your time. Writing down. I've been doing that lately. Like if I want to have a discussion, I'm like, let me write like all the topics that I want to address,
It's
so
so good.
I don't miss anything. And
That's
at
great.
the end, holding all of that creates resentment, and that's not what anybody wants in the relationship. So
And in general, I would say that instead of seeing this as obstacles or something bad, I would say I feel lucky and I'm blessed that I can learn and see the world in another point of view. And I'm pretty sure that she can say the same thing because these relationships, we have another layer to this. Yeah. All right. I think that's all for today, Marcela. I hope that this helped you and help a lot of people in your same situation like us. Thank you for writing, and you can write too, or give me some comments or feedback. You can write to me at malena.ramirez327 at gmail, or you can find me on Instagram at Malena Comics, where I do sapphic illustrations and lesbian love illustrations. You can send me a DM there. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, or if you are on Spotify, subscribe and do the little bell that is so it tells you when there's a new episode, all of that. Comment if you are on YouTube. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. This is again my first episode in English, and I'm very happy I'm doing the crossover with one of my best friends here, Melissa. Thank you so
thank
much.
you for having me. This was fun, really fun.
Yes, thank you. All right, have a good day, everyone, and I'll see you next time. I'm
Bye.
Malena Ramirez, and this is your podcast, The Lesbicast. Bye bye. Malena, I don't know. Bye.